Today we're going to be talking about the Backtester Pro and some of the new features that I've added recently. We're going to be going through and setting up a simple strategy together and backtest that strategy a few years back and walk through how we can optimize it. And I'm also going to introduce the analytics tool that I've recently added onto the Backtester. So here we have two moving averages on the chart. We have a 10 moving average and a 50 moving average. It's just a simple moving average. You can experiment with different moving averages. They all kind of work similarly, but you're going to get various results. In terms of Backtester, first thing you want to do is go ahead and disconnect from the data feed. So you go to File, Disconnect. The reason for this is the Backtester Pro makes a calculation every time there's new data. So what's going to happen is if you connect it to the data feed, it's going to keep recalculating over and over again. It's going to really slow down the computer. So that's quite important that you do that. Afterwards, let's go ahead and create the strategy. So let's walk through the strategy first. So this is the thicker one is the 100 moving average. You can use 200, it doesn't matter. And this is the 10 moving average. You can use 20 if you want. It really doesn't matter. The strategy kind of works in all different variations of the parameter. So what we want to do is when the 10 moving average is above the 100 moving average, we want to buy at the pullback. So this would be perhaps a buy, and this would be a buy. This would be a buy, I guess. If you have a small stop loss, you're going to get stopped out here, but it's going to buy and buy and buy and buy over and over again. We're going to be using the 1 minute time frame. It's going to be less reliable. The results of a 1 minute time frame is going to be less reliable than if you have a higher time frame result. The reason for that is your frame of view is going to be smaller, so your stop loss is probably going to be smaller. So you'd want to put your stop loss here. Let's say it's 20 ticks. If you entered here, you'd say let's say you want to put it around here or below this moving average, for example. Well, if you had a 10-minute candle, I suppose that's going to, instead of 20 ticks, that's going to be 200 ticks, or instead of 50 ticks, it's going to be 500 ticks. That's going to give you more room for slippage and whatnot. All the calculations are going to be, even if there's slippage, it's not going to matter that much. You're not going to notice it, the difference in the backtest. But with a 1 minute time frame, it's all going to be noticeable because the room for error it's drastically reduced. But still, we're going to go ahead and try it on the 1 minute time frame for now, because it's loaded up, I suppose. Let's go. So first thing we want to do is create the strategy. So I'm going to be using color bar based on alert condition, and if you don't know how to use that, there's a guy on YouTube. His name is Rob, and his YouTube channel is Rob MV3 Trader. I'll leave a link below for his channel, and he does a really good explanation of teaching how to use spreadsheet formulas and color bar based on alert condition formulas. It's really not that difficult. If you don't know how to use it, it's very easy. I've learned how to use them with his video within like 20 minutes. So obviously it takes a little bit more time to get your head around and master the whole thing, but 20-30 minutes is definitely going to give you enough knowledge to be able to create your strategies. So the first thing we do is add the color bar based on alert condition. Let's see where it is. Okay, and now let's type in our conditions. So we have multiple conditions, so we're going to start with an end, and it's going to be, so ID1, the low has to be above ID. Wait, which one was, this one was 100, yeah. So let's do this again. Low is bigger than ID2.sg1. So we're just saying the low is bigger than moving average of 100. Also, what we want is the high of this bar to be bigger than id1.sg1. Okay. And the low to be less than id1.sg1. And if we click, let's make this maybe green, just so we know. So what we have here is every time this candle sort of pierces through this moving average, it means it has touched, it's pulled back to the moving average. And we say, well, we want the high to be above it. That's just a way of filtering out so it doesn't get, so if you remove that one, if you remove that condition, oops, this one, you'll see it's going to start highlighting the ones in this corner as well, where they're not, you can obviously see it's not a pullback to that moving average, but it's gone way beyond, below that already. One more condition that we want to add is we want the candle before to be perhaps a green candle, just so we are entering at the pullback. So low is, not to say close of previous bar is bigger than open of previous bar. As you can see, these are all pullbacks to the moving average. This one looks a little bit strange, so we have to add one more condition. We have to make sure the bar before is also above this moving average. So, say, let's say the low of previous candle has to be bigger than id1.sg1. Previous candle is bigger than id1. Well, actually, we can get rid of this condition. The close of previous bar has to be bigger than the open, so it has to be green bar. Doesn't really matter as long as the low is above the moving average. So the first process, as you can see, is refining the strategy. And now we have a couple of candles. Let's go back a little bit, and yeah, they all seem to be sort of entering at the pullbacks. There you go. One thing we do need to do, look, if you go back quite a bit, you're not going to see any green candles anymore. This is because by default, color bar based on alert condition has only 2000 bars to look back at. So we're going to increase that quite a bit. Because, well, currently, the first thing actually I should have said is I've only loaded 10 days. You don't want to load too many days to begin with. The first part of the process is to make sure the strategy looks good, make sure that it lines up on the screen, all the entries and exits. And then we can go ahead and load more data and refine the parameters. So next stage, we're not going to be selling, it's just an example. We're just going to be looking at the long condition, but for the short condition we're going to be doing exactly the same thing but in the opposite side. So add custom study. At the moment we're on Backtester release version 16. You can see I've got so many versions here, but just use the latest one if possible. And in there I have Backtester Pro, chain of events, and day of week study. These I might come back to in a bit. We don't need them for now, but let's just add this. And in there what we want to do is we have trade direction, long and short. So we've set this to long only, as we're going to be setting up a long strategy for this one. And buy condition is, let's choose the color bar based on alert condition. One thing you have to keep in mind is the Backtester Pro has to be below all other studies that it's looking at. So it's going to be looking at color bar based on alert condition. So this has to be below color bar based on alert condition. It's just the way Sierra chart works. The studies are calculated in order of list. If you sometimes find that your strategy is not showing anything, it could be that the backtester is listed above your actual formula. So you could use a spreadsheet as well, instead of color bar based on alert conditions. Some users definitely prefer the spreadsheet over color bar based on alert condition, but I find that this works a lot faster than the spreadsheet, so, and it does what I need to do. So we've plugged in our buy condition. What we do is select our buy condition, and we can leave the sell condition in there, and let's just apply the default and just click apply. So by default you're not seeing much, if you can see that, and the reason is because I have a black background and the P&L text color is set to black. So let's go ahead and change that, and now you can see we have take profit and stop loss in place. So we need to go ahead and check our entries. So what you'll notice is that it's not entering exactly at the moving average. It's entering at the close of the bar. This is how it is set up by default. Like I said, Backtester Pro is calculated after candle close, and you'll have a lot more stable result if you have a candle close based strategy. And if you want to automate this afterwards, it's going to be your automated strategy is going to have a very similar result to the backtest if your condition works around candle closes. But for this purpose, I'm going to demonstrate one of the new features. What we're going to be doing is entering exactly at the moving average. So we'll go into the Backtester Pro and scroll down, and you will see entry price based on study subgraph. We enable that, and then we select the subgraph that we want to enter. So in this case, it's the first moving average. Click apply, and you'll immediately see the entry moves to this moving average. Now the issue with this is that this doesn't always give you great results. Well, it doesn't give you accurate results compared to calculations based on close of the bar, because let's try to see if I can find an example that might work well. Okay, let's say it's this one. Oh yeah. So, and we're using the moving average. So what happens in a live environment is that the moving average is dynamic, so it keeps moving. Sometimes you'll see that it has barely touched the moving average, and then we have an entry. We're seeing it after the fact, after the bar is closed, but when that bar is forming, the moving average might have been down here, right? And it might have caught up when the bar closed. It might have caught up all the way down there, but the Backtester Pro is seeing it as an entry. So be aware of that stuff. There are ways sort of you can minimize that. You know, there are certain tricks that you can do, but for our purpose, we're just gonna carry on with this as it is. So just keep in mind that the entries are not going to be exactly the same, but like I said, this is going to give you an idea if the strategy works or not. Overall, there's going to be some differences, but you should have an idea or if this strategy is a winning strategy or not. So now let's do one more thing. Let's create an exit condition. So create another color bar based on that condition, duplicate that, and let's say delete all this. Let's say if we close above the open. So if we have a green bar, if the next bar is green, we can just exit. We just want to perhaps scalp okay? Or maybe if we have 2 green bars in a row, and let's say close is of the previous bar is bigger than the open of previous bar. So what this is saying is we have 2 green bars in a row, then we exit. And let's call this exit condition. Well, let's hit apply, and now we need to go ahead and plug this in. So for this, we're going to be exiting. Well, first of all, actually, before we do this, let's try the take profit and stop loss. Let's adjust, and I want to go through all these values with you before I go ahead and make it a bit more complicated. So we have take profit in ticks. We can see that we can make it 40 instead of 20, and stop loss, let's make this 40 as well, so it's 10 points. So now the results, you can see cumulative P&L is at a positive. Tick value, so this is the tick value of the instrument that you're using. Currently we're on NQ, so we're going to change that to $5, and you can see it reflects on our cumulative P&L. Commissions, let's turn on commissions. So commissions are usually $4 round term commissions, and it's immediately reflected onto the calculations. So the next we have stop loss below bar, entry bar. So we can just use the low of the bar as a stop loss point, which gets calculated after the bar is closed. So you need to be careful with that as well, and because what happens is, once you've entered, let's say once you've entered here, you're getting a look ahead bias at the moment because it's putting a stop loss right here, right? If it did put a stop loss right there and the bar hasn't closed yet, it could come and stop you out in the same, perhaps this was going to be a bigger bar, it would have stopped you out. So if you're going to use this method as a stop loss before, when you're using entry as a study subgraph, you need to have a condition when you're trading live or when you're trading with an automated system that places the stop loss after the bar is closed. Then you know where the low of the bar is, if that makes sense. But for now, let's just turn this off. Now we have take profit percentage. When this is by default set to 0, when you increase this, let's say to 0.1, this overrides this take profit, and what happens is it then calculates the take profit amount based on percentage amount. So it's gonna say 0.1% of the current price. So now you can see it's a lot bigger take profit level. Next, we can also do that 0.05 for a stop loss. So it's half of the take profit percentage, and you can see it's updated. So if you don't want to use that, just set it to 0 by default. And the reason I've included this is you will find out that if you're backtesting far back into, like, let's say 4 or 5 years ago, what's going to happen is if you have a set stop loss limit of, let's say 20 ticks, it might be too big for the market conditions 5 years ago. The reason is, as the price of an instrument grows, let's say Nasdaq is now at 17,000, the indices tend to move about 1% per day. So if 5 years ago, I can't remember what the price was, let's say it was 5,000 or 3,000, 1% of that is going to be a lot less than 1% of 17,000. So a stop loss of 20 ticks or 50 ticks that you're using now is going to be way too much, and your strategy, you'll see that your strategy is going to stop working, or it's going to perform a lot differently when you go back, and then you start realizing why that is. One of the issues could be the fact that your take profit and stop loss limit is not aligned with the market. So that's why I added this in there. Alternatively, what you can do, so if you want to turn this back off to, you're going to where are we? Put it to 0. Alternatively, what you can do is you can use ATR for take profit and stop loss. you need to add an ATR in here, ATR study, and then you choose the ATR study. You can use other studies as well. It basically uses that amount and then multiplies that by this value. So if you do choose the ATR, what you need to do is go up here and set a value of like 1 or 2, then it will multiply it up by 1 or 2. So they work in conjunction with each other. Where are we? So next we have break even. So by default this is set to 1,000. I might even increase this to a bigger number. So this is always on by default. It's just the way it was easier to code it that way. If you want to activate it though, what you can do with, like for this condition, let's just set it to let's set a take profit of 100, and then we'll set this to 50. Well, let's keep it at a high number first, you can see what's going on. So now we have a take profit amount of 100 ticks, and if you want to trigger break even, let's put it at 50 ticks. Well, you get all kinds of different results, but okay, we have a break even here. As you can see, it entered here, went up 50 ticks somehow. Let's see, it's up here, it was 50, so it triggered the break even at that point. Now our break even has moved here, and it came back and took us out at break even, and you see a loss of -$4. That's because we have the commissions enabled. What you need to be careful with this also, you don't want to set the break even to a very low amount, because let's say this is the entry bar and this is a 25 tick bar, and if your break even was set to, let's say, 20, you're gonna get multiple calculations happening within the same candle. Let's say your take profit was at 25 and your break even was at 20. What you're getting is, like, you don't know which one hit first, so you need to use break even with caution, because you're getting into, again, intra-bar calculation stuff, which Sierra Chat, Backtester Pro is not able to do. What I have enabled in most cases though, if there's a situation where stop loss and take profit is within the same bar, it's always gonna hit stop loss first. So it's gonna assume that stop loss got hit before it managed to get to the take profit point, just so we have the worst case scenario. So we don't want to get into we don't want to get a fake positive. I'd rather get a fake negative. I'd rather see that my strategy is underperforming in the backtest, but yet still performing well, rather than it overperforms in my backtest. So going back into the backtester, we have break even offset, so we can, let's just move this aside a little bit. Break even offset, so we can go, let's make that 10 ticks. Now you can see it's moved up 10 ticks, and it's calculating 10 ticks plus -4, which is $46. To switch this back off, just set it to a high number. Now it's just going to turn off break even. Next we have trailing stop. This also you have to use with caution. If you have, let's try the 50 tick trailing stop. And what happens is, see, you can immediately see it working here. You have trailing stop trigger limit, which is the point in which the trailing stop gets activated. So when the price hits 50 ticks, it starts to trail down 10 ticks from high of the candle. So because, again, this is not going to be 100% accurate, it's going to be calculating after the candle is closed. The way I worked around that is just to calculate from the top of this candle. As soon as it hits 50 ticks, which is just on this candle, it moves back 10 ticks from the top, which is just here, and gives you an exit there. You can see it, again, let's try a little bit of a different value. Let's trail, where was it? Let's do 20 ticks or 30 ticks. So now you can see it gets triggered here, but it starts trailing and trailing and trailing until it gets to a candle where it's bigger than 30 ticks, and you get you get stopped out. And it will actually say it's a stop loss because it is a stop loss. What it's doing is it's moving your stop loss up. So if you see a stop loss but it says a positive number, don't be put off by that. It's a winning trade, and it's calculated as a winning trade. You can use study instead of ticks. You can use the study, any study you want. So we have long trailing stop study. So you can use two different studies or the same study for long and short. You can use this moving average to trail behind it. So it enters here and it misses the first bar and then starts trailing afterwards. I think it misses the first bar. Yeah, it does. Yeah, there you go. So otherwise it would have taken out. The reason it misses the first bar because I wanted to give it some space until it actually starts trailing. You can see it's just exiting at the moving average. Next we have use study for take profit and stop loss. So what this is you can use, like you've used the entry condition, the color bar based on alert condition, you can use any formulas like a spreadsheet or color bar based on alert condition for an exit condition. And we've added this formula previously. Let's hide this entry condition and then let's rename this correctly so we don't get confused. Let's call this entry condition and click apply. And exit condition, let's first hide the exit entry condition so it doesn't get highlighted. Oops. And the exit condition, let's see what it was. So close of this bar is green, as in it's a bullish candle, and previous bar is also a bullish candle. So we have two bullish candles in a row. That's when we exit. Let's now plug this in. We go to come on, where was this? I've added too many features onto this now and I get confused looking at it. Need to find there it is. So use study for take profit and click on yes. We add exit condition and make sure you select subgraph 1, and there we go. So when we have two green candles in a row, which is green candle 1, green candle 2, we exit. Again, it enters here. We don't see two green candles in a row until at this point. So what this does though, it actually deactivates the stop loss. So if I set this to 20 or anything, it just see it has no effect because it's now using only this condition to exit. What I will do in the future though, probably I will have a condition where you can have this stop loss affect your stop losses, and so you don't rely on this condition to become true until you exit the trade, because there will be cases where, okay, let's see, you have two green bars in a row here. It's quite, maybe you're not going to get two green bars in a row for a long time, so maybe this might be too much risk for you, if that makes sense. So next, so entry and exit on the same bar. So what this is if there's a case where you're using let's say a moving average crossover as a strategy, what you can set it to do is within the same bar, because you have this bar here which will be your exit condition, perhaps, but at the same time it could be your entry condition for the reversal. You want to know whether you should reverse your strategy when the condition happens. That's what I set this up. Where is it? Study, entry, exit. So if you hit no, it doesn't matter in this case, but you can see that one of these trades are getting affected at some point. If you turn this off, it will wait until the next bar to take a trade. So we already talked about this one. It's the stop loss and take profit based on ATR level. You just click on yes and then select your ATR or whatever you want to use to determine the length of the stop loss. So it could be any other indicator that you want to use. So daily stop loss and daily profit target. What this is if you set your daily stop loss, this is always a minus number. I might change that in the future just to avoid confusion, but so if you have a daily loss of minus 1000, it will stop trading as soon as it hits minus 1000. It will not take any trades for that day. And same for the daily profit target. If you, let's say 500, after you don't want to stop trading after 500, it will stop trading, and you can see immediately it reflects back on the on your trading results, on your statistics at the top right there. Slippage, well, let's just first of all increase this to a high value. This will turn it off. Slippage, you can add, you see maximum slippage of 3, and this will randomly, every time you click apply, it should sort of change the position. It will randomly apply some sort of slippage value between 1 and 3 on each entry and exit, and you can narrow this down. Let's say maximum of 2 slippage. There you go, and you can see how immediately slippage affects your P&L results. Set that to no. It's not a good result to begin with anyway, currently, but we're just exploring and playing around at the moment. So slippage to no for now, we don't need that. Market order 1 tick above entry. This is just to simulate market orders. As you can see on this entry here, or this one here, if you're entering with a market order, it just ensures that it's just 1 tick above, and it's calculated just to get you a bit more realistic results. I know your results are gonna look a lot better without that, and it's tempting to keep these kind of things off, like slippage and market order 1 tick above entry, stuff like that. It's tempting to keep them off. It just feels great to see a positive number. But if you want realistic results, make sure you tick this on if you're going to enter with market order. Entry price based on study subgraph, we've already gone through this. You can entry based on a subgraph study, but you have to be careful how you use this. This is getting to if you're not familiar with Sierra chart, or if you're not familiar with backtesting and look ahead bias, etc., then you could easily fall into a trap of where your strategy is entering. So your condition could be this, right? Your condition could be, let's say, if you're close above a moving average, you enter at the close, and if you enter with a subgraph, it's going to enter right here. Even though your bar has closed right up here, it's going to enter here, and it's not going to, and you might miss that, and you might feel like, wow, this is great, the results are great, but it's certainly, if you see on your statistics a result that looks too good, it's too good. It's definitely you've probably done something like a look ahead bias, something that should not be calculated. I would go back and check to see you don't have a look ahead bias or anything like that. Stop loss level set by study. So this, if you set this to yes, and then let's say we use moving average, the second moving average, because the first one is our take profit level. Let's use the second one as, oh, if you want to enable this, we need to actually disable use study for exit. Now you can see our stop level has moved. So the way this works is at the entry of this bar, it takes a look at this level here, right? And then going forward, it will exit there. Okay, so next we have compound with consecutive wins. So let's go back to take profit level first. So stop loss and take profit, use study, yes. So we have our original strategy. When we turn this on, what it's gonna do is every time it wins, it's gonna add one lot to it. And if you're using with one lot, it's gonna add one lot more lot up to a point where it adds 6 lots. And you can see the results is getting quite a lot different. And the reason for this is if you have a winning strategy and if you have a high win rate, what you can test is to see on the days that you have let's say you have a winning day, and certain days you're winning and certain days you're not winning. What you can do is you can actually start compounding on those days and add more size as you win, add more size. It was, for me, basically this was just to test an idea, and I kept it in there, and I haven't usually used it much, but it does give you very interesting results when you start compounding. End of day exit time. So this, for me, I live in the UK and the market closes at 21:15, so you can set this to anything you want. So after this time it will close all trades and it will not take any more trades until the next day. And these are basically just the stuff for like stats at the top here. You can align that to the left side if you want. No. And background color, some people might prefer a different color for the background. Statistics, P&L text color, we already went through this. It's just these text colors. Text size, you can make it a little bit bigger. Sometimes you might have a squished text, just make it smaller. This, okay, we're gonna get to this in a bit as I introduce the analytics tool here, but we'll get to that in a second. In sample and out of sample data, you don't want to be using all your data to optimize your strategy. What you'll get is an overfitted strategy. Once you have your strategy in place, what you want to do is, before you optimize it, choose in sample only. So this will use 70% of the charts loaded in your chart, and when you turn this on, you'll see that the last few parts of this chart you're not going to get any trades taking place. And when you have a winning strategy in this 70% of sample, you can then turn both of them on to see if it still performs in the last 30%. Now this backtest date range, you can, let's switch this back on for a sec. This is not going to work in conjunction with that. So if you're going to use backtest date range, make sure you use in sample and out of sample data. Backtest date range, if you set this to yes, you can now specify certain days. Let's say, what are we now? 13th. Let's say you want to backtest the 10th of January. You can just go 2024. Maybe you might be able to select it from here, actually, the list. Yeah, so the start date is going to be the 10th, and oh, it's the start date. I'll have to change that. This is the end date. The end date will be the 11th. So this will just test that one day of trading, and you can see it took 50 trades. Let's go back to that date. So we're on the 12th. We'll be able to see. There you go. This is the 10th. It's taking trades there. And where are we? And then here you can enable and disable the backtester. It just saves you from removing it from the chart when you don't want to. Let's turn this back off. Now we're gonna get into one of my favorite tools, which is the analytics tool. So once you've loaded up this application, you click on the load data file, and in there you need to go into your Sierra Charts data folder. You will see a Backtester Pro trades txt file. This gets generated automatically, and it gets put into your data folder. by the Backtester Pro. You load that file up, and here you'll see daily P&L results. So it doesn't look like much at the moment. It doesn't look like an equity curve because it's just not much data. Let's do something. Let's first increase the number of days that we are seeing. We are only calculating 10 days. But before you do that, what you want to do is you want to hide Backtester Pro. What this will do is, if we can find, it will hide these drawing tools, or will hide these lines and the text on there. So what you want to do is you want to hide your study, because it will increase the performance by a huge amount. It doesn't matter for 10 days, but if you're loading 500 days or so, or even more, it's really going to slow down your CRA chart. So let's hide this, because now you can see your entries and exits, they're all in the correct place, so you don't have a problem with that. What you want to do is you hide it, and it will hide anything that's not needed at this point. And then you can increase, you go into your data and increase the days that you want to load. Let's just load 1 year for now, and here you want to turn on continuous contract, set this to volume-based contract. We can immediately see we have better results here, but most importantly, what we're going to see is a nice equity curve. Well, it's not very nice to be honest, but it's going to be an equity curve that makes sense. So this is a period, as you can see from the dates below, from the 1st of January 2023, January 2023 to January 2024. In here, this analytics tool is going to give you certain analytics that's quite important in my opinion, like the monthly P&L. You can see, if you're doing a backtest long enough, you can see which months might be underperforming, and overall it's good to see your monthly average P&L, etc. Now here you have the hourly P&L. So this looks at the entries based on the time of day. So you can see those entries, we have in total 10,600 trades, more than 10,600 trades. And you can see those trades that have been entered at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. This is 10 a.m. UK time, by the way, have a lot of losing trades. And most of the winning trades with this strategy come between 12 and 8 p.m. And you can see even at that, 4 p.m. is where you see a lot of losing trades. I tend to see this quite a lot. 4 p.m. UK time. I tend to see this quite a lot with trend following strategies, with especially if you have a big stop loss. And what I've realized is that at 4 p.m. you have a lot of market reversal happening. So trades tend to go reverse at that time. So if you're doing a trend following strategy, you're gonna get stopped out around that time quite often. So this is very, very powerful and useful information that we can actually implement in our strategy in a bit. Day of the week, you can see it's crazy. Like Wednesday is a complete loss, so you don't want to be taking any longs on Wednesday. We can again see that how we can implement that in a second. And Fridays and Mondays tend to be working great based on our backtest. It doesn't mean that it's going to work like that all the time, but for whatever reason, the market conditions for the past year has told us that you should not be taking long trades on Wednesday. We have Monte Carlo simulation. As you can see, now it's not a lot of data. I can set this to be up to 10,000 simulations or whatever, but I've only set this to, I think we've got about 10 simulations going on, just to give you an idea. And as you can see with the Monte Carlo, this is not a great trading strategy at the moment. There's a big possibility that it could end up in the red, as the Monte Carlo simulation shows. And if we sort of apply this again, also this updates every time you update your charts. It actually updates automatically, as you can see. I've just hit apply on my Sierra charts studies, and it re-uploaded the data file, and it's giving you a different Monte Carlo simulation. So every time you're going to get a slightly different simulation. Volume analysis. So by default, I've added this thing. I was curious to see if volume had any effect in my trading, and these are based on your entry. So every time you have an entry, it looks at the volume to see what the volume was, and you can see the average volume of the winning trades is 495, the average volume of the losing trades is 450. So it just shows in this strategy, volume doesn't really have much of a influence. And what we have here is the custom indicator analysis. What you can do is you can plug in any indicator here and see if it has an effect on your trading results. Let me show you. So for example, let's say we want to add ask bid volume difference text. We can go ahead at the bottom here where it says study for correlation analysis, use ask bid volume difference and use SU1, hit OK, and then go back to our indicator, go back to our analysis tool, and you can see, well, average winning trade has a negative 54 and average losing trade at a negative 50. Again, not much of a difference, but you can just use the imagination. You can see how you can use this. You can perhaps add ATR, see if ATR has any difference, and then according to that you can add a filter. Let's say our average winning trade had a positive 1000 delta, right, and our average losing trade had a negative 100 delta. Then you'd make, then you can just actually create a condition where you'd filter out those trades that has negative delta and only use positive delta. So going back to our strategy, what we can do is use this data to optimize our strategy. So let's start with the time of day. So we want to filter out perhaps all of this range and all of this range, and we only want to trade between 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. right here. So to do that, Sierra chart has this indicator called time range highlight. So we move this to the top, and what was it, from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. right? So it's 20, and if you click apply, you can see it highlights that range. Let's get rid of this indicator for a second for the study. So what we can do now in our entry condition, we can set a condition where we want Sierra chart to look at this time range, the time range highlight tool. So it goes, which is id7.sg1. That's all you need to do. Which this means that this condition has to be true. So when you click apply, let's actually pull this up for a second and see. Well, before we do that, I'm going to click OK, but I'm not going to click apply. What I want to do is only use in sample data and click apply. What we can see in our analytics tool is that we are now not seeing any trades taking place. It's just a straight line for the 30% of our data. And I will look at hourly P&L, and you can see it's changed a little bit. 2:30 p.m. is the US Open for UK time. Now if you go to day of the week, you can see that our day of the week results have also been affected by our hourly P&L. But we still have winning trades on Monday, Thursday and Friday, although Friday's trades have gone down a little bit. Wednesday is still a losing trade, and Tuesday has become a losing day as well. So let's try filtering those out, and let's say if we don't trade on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and see what happens. And the way we can do that is we can go to back to add custom study and use the day of week study. These by the way, they all come with Backtester Pro when you subscribe to it. So with day of the week study, you have subgraphs in there, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So every day is assigned a subgraph. So we wanted to, let's say Tuesday and Wednesday we want to get rid of. So we'll go SG2 and SG3 has to be 0. So entry condition, we can just type it here. Day of week study is id6.sg1 equals, sorry, that's Monday. SG2 is Tuesday equals 0. And then id6.sg3 is Wednesday. So that needs to be 0 as well. And click apply. And wait for the results to update. There we go. So you can see we have much better equity curve, but we don't know what it's going to look like on the rest of the remaining 30%. And the only way to find out is if we turn this back on in sample and out of sample data, wait for it to update. It can take a while to update. There you go, and it works quite well on the out of sample data as well. So you can go ahead and load more data, go further back and test this thoroughly. And like I said, this is a 1 minute time frame strategy. The best way to test this is now is to use the backtest date range and use a couple of random days, pick random days, and go ahead and use the replay tool. Go to Sierra Charts replay tool, and because you can now, you have these conditions, entry condition, exit conditions. You can now plug this into either your spreadsheet trading system or color bar based on alert condition trading system. So you can just go to trading system here, trader system based on alert condition. You can just plug these in and then go ahead and try these strategies on a replay environment. And like I said, if you don't know how to set those up, I highly recommend Rob MV Free Trader on YouTube. His stories are great, very simple, straightforward. So yeah, that's it from now. I think that we've covered a lot of the stuff. Sorry, it's been a bit of a long video. I've been meaning to make this video for a while, but here you go. So we have a trading strategy, a winning strategy, at least hypothetical winning strategy. It's a 66% win rate, and it's made in a year, almost $50,000 with a maximum drawdown of $6,000. It's quite a good strategy, but this is all hypothetical. You need to make sure you go back and do a replay with Sierra Chart, and also test it on a demo account for a while. So you forward test this in a live environment with a demo account. But yeah, so hopefully we'll make another video soon when there is more updates. But for now, take care and speak to you soon.